Okay. Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about infinite limits. So let's first look at some problems that's going to help you understand some of the concepts. So, limit as x goes to infinity of 1 over x. Let's not do this a fancy way yet. Let's do it a very simple way. So let's plug in numbers. So when x is 10, y is going to be 1 over 10, since you plug in 10 to this equation. Let's ignore this for now. So when you plug in 100, you're going to get 1 over 100. And when you plug in 1,000, it's going to be 1 over 1,000. And we can keep going on forever, but I'm going to stop here. So as x is getting bigger by looking at this trend, y is going to get smaller and smaller. So in this problem, we're going to plug in infinity to here. So x is the biggest number possible. So that means y is going to be the smallest number possible, which is going to be 0. So remember, any number like 1, 2, 3 over x, when you plug in infinity, it's just going to equal 0. Because it's a small number over a very, very, very big number. And if you are given limit as x goes to negative infinity of 1 over x, all the x values would just be negative, and the resulting y values would just be negative too. So that's what you would do if you had this kind of problem. Let's look at what an infinite limit really is. So an infinite limit is technically the y value you're trying to find, and the x value you're plugging in is infinity or negative infinity, depending on the type of problem they're giving you. So the y value is going to usually end up being a horizontal asymptote, and the x value, and this is just x is going to infinity, and this is the value where x is going to approach infinity but never actually hit it. So as x is getting closer and closer and closer, and getting bigger too, the y value, it's never going to touch it. Kind of like Romeo and Juliet. So here's the main rule you need to really know to do infinite limits. There's one other one that I'll mention later. So the rule is to divide everything by the x with the biggest power in the denominator. And make sure you're doing the denominator, not the numerator. So for example, if we had 1 over x squared plus x as limit of x goes to infinity, the biggest power in the denominator of x would be x squared. So we would divide everything by x squared. So you would get 1 over x squared over x squared over x squared plus x over x squared. And then you simplify. So let's do 2 practice problems. The first one is this. In this problem, we're going to be applying what I just talked about, where 1 over x is going to equal 0, or 3 over x equals 0, anything over x equals 0, as long as the top is not x. So limit as x goes to infinity of 2x squared plus 3 over x squared minus 5x minus 1. So the biggest power in the denominator in this problem would be x squared. So we divide everything by x squared. And when we simplify this a bit, x squared and x squared cancels out. So we get 2, and there's nothing to cancel out here, so we get 2 plus 3 over x squared. And then here, x squared divided by x squared will just equal 1. And here, we can cancel out an x from the top and the bottom, and we'll still have an x on the bottom. So you'd get 1 minus 5 over x, and there's nothing to do here, so minus 1 over x squared. So now let's take the limit. 3 divided by infinity squared would just be 3 over infinity, since infinity squared is just going to be infinity. And from our previous rules, we know that 3 over infinity is going to equal 0. So we would get 2 plus 0, and on the bottom, 1 minus 5 divided by infinity is 0. So we would get 1 minus 0, and the same thing here. So minus 0. So our result would be 2. So now let's do our second problem. And this is going to be applying the rule where root x squared is going to equal x. Or root x squared is going to equal negative x, depending on whether you're going to infinity or negative infinity. So in this case, we're going to negative infinity. So limit of x to negative infinity of root 3x squared plus 6 over 5 minus 2x. So remember, root x squared equals negative x in this problem because we're going to negative infinity here. So we're going to divide everything by either this or this depending on what it is. So on the top, we're going to be doing root 3x squared plus 6 divided by root x squared, which is going to give us root 3x squared divided by x squared plus 6 over x squared. And on the bottom, we're going to be dividing this by this. So we would have 5 over negative x minus 2x over negative x. And once we simplify a bit, x squared and x squared cancels out, so we get root 3 plus 6 over x squared. And on the bottom, we would get negative 5 over x plus 2. And now we take the limit since you can't really simplify any further. So 6 over negative infinity squared would equal 6 over infinity, which would equal 0. So we would get root 3 plus 0. And on the bottom, negative 5 over negative infinity is just going to give you 0. And then here, it's just going to be 2. So the answer to this problem would be root 3 over 2. And that's it for this lesson. I hope you learned something. And have a nice day.